What up, everybody? Welcome to Animation Study Buddies. I'm your host, Wade, and I'm here today with Wayne Carlisi from 101 Animation. What up, Wayne?
Hey, what's up is we're going to check out how to do the walk cycle and how to go about it in a way that you can control your walk cycles. It's not as confusing as people think, and we'll go through it step by step.
Awesome. Let's jump in.
Look at this. This is a beautiful little run cycle here. It's just so unique. He looks, I don't know, how would you describe that?
I mean, I believe the word I used before was jaunty.
It's a good word. I think that matches it really well.
Yeah, so, it's not really a run, but it is. It's not a fast run, at least.
Yeah, but they do it. Let's see how many frames they do it in. So let's go with the contact. There's the contact. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So for each step, they use 5 frames. And they do it all at once, which is the correct way to do it. But they retrace the lower part of the body. And then they animated where he pulls out the gun. But they didn't go, real extreme on the downs. They made sure the movement's there. It's just beautiful.
So there's a couple of, I think, questions that I have when it comes to runs. But I guess first, is there sort of a typical run that happens? Like, is there a typical, like, here is, we're going to use X amount of frames and that's going to, like, be a standard run? Because this is kind of a deviation from what we would expect, right?
Yes. They say, like, if you read Richard Williams' book, he puts out the formula of a standard run, and I think that was really created from the Disney animators. But they broke the rules all the time. Like, when I was first learning it, all I had was the Preston Blair book, and I thought that's the only way you could do a run. What was in there? And it wasn't until, time went on and everything that you could do a run for just like this one. This is really unique. It's a little bouncy, what'd you call it again? Jaunty run. And, it's not really pushed as far as like this. Like the foot doesn't come and just flatten out right there.
That's kind of interesting. You would expect it to.
Yeah, you would.
The juiciness of it.
And what's really cool is what sells it is just the body movement, the squash of his body right there on those down positions. There it is again, the squash. He doesn't really, he squashes the foot. He does, but he doesn't like change the shape. It's still arcing up. And again, it just doesn't matter. It works great. You know what else is really cool? This is a little bit outside of talking about he reaches into his belt and all of a sudden he pulls out this huge gun. And, you didn't see that huge gun inside his belt before. And that's really cool. There's a scene in The Little Whirlwind. It's a Freddie Moore scene on Disney's Little Whirlwind where he has this bag and he reaches in for it and he pulls out a hammer that is like 4 times the size of the bag. And then when he comes up to that's just great anticipation. And that's where I got it selected to.
So the thing that always kind of confuses me whenever I'm looking into runs and walks. So whenever you highlighted that first little bit and saying, well, it's a 5 cycle run
Mm-hmm.
cycle. That switch over between the legs, like even in most books, I know in I think the Preston Blair book, and it might even be this way in the Richard Williams book. It's been a minute since I've looked at it, but the cycles that they come up with, they only show that half of the cycle, and they expect the student to flip it. I know that, but since that's not ever actually shown, it confuses me. So whenever you're flipping that cycle, you get your first 5 frames, and then you're going to move over to the next to repeat the cycle.
Mm-hmm.
How do you move, like how do you transition that? Is there anything that you need to be like looking for, or are there any like do's and don'ts? Because I just feel like that's something that's never talked about.
Williams does talk about it. This is what he teaches: contact. The contact drawing is the one you can start off with, but you don't have to. You can start off with the up and down. But the transition, let's say, from let's just go to a contact. There's the contact with his right leg right there, and so we got number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's really 4 drawings going into the next contact.
Okay.
And what you do is, for instance, if I try to fade this way down. If I come up here, let's go back to the contact there. And the way to really control your cycles is, and we're just going to look at the lower part of the leg, but you would also do this with the arms if you were cycling the arm movement. But we'll just take a look at the legs and the placement of the shape right there. We'll just put in that break right there. Okay. So what we have here, we got the contact. This is the down position. This is the coming up, so I'll call it mid position on this particular run cycle. And here's the up pose. We got all these drawings done. And then you want to make it to where it looks natural for your next set of drawings. What you do is you take, let's say, let's come back here. You would take this, and then if I put a frame, and I've already finished, this is important before I carry on. I finished the up and downs of this particular cycle, this 4-frame cycle for each step proceeding into the next one. Got that one, this one, and then up. So then after you get that done and you can see that it's working, but you want to have control of your walk cycle, you come in, you put another piece of paper over it, and this you got to take your time on. But here we got the basic shape of the right leg making the contact. What you want to do is you'll come up with the body like so, and you'll cheat this leg very close to the green drawing, contact number 1. This is contact 2, and you'll cheat it. And I know in perspective that this leg is closer, so the foot's going to be down here. And now exactly where you place this, that's the art of it. You got to flip it back and forth. But this is how you get started with it. Then on the far leg, I'll just change the position slightly of it right there. Let me put a little tone value on the far leg. So it separates. That's why I put that tone value there. It separates it. And now I got contact number 1. This is why you put the tonal value. Just shade that in.
Mm-hmm.
So, because it gets confusing with just pure line. And now I got contact number 2. It's a little more in perspective because of the angle of the ship. And then I'll go to down number 2, put a blank drawing there. And I just shift this a little bit, just a little bit. I don't want it to be the exact same. It works if you make the exact copy, but it looks not as natural. So I just shift everything. I know that this is the leg that's closest to us. So I'm just going to move that back. Here's his lower torso there. I'll move that foot back a little bit, maybe see a little bit of leg. But then on the front, I'll come in there, make it a little lower. And I always have a grid down here that I can line the feet on as they're moving back. Really important. You always want to keep your feet registered on that line. If it moves up or down, you're going to see it immediately. So I'm not even sure, but I'll be able to tell after I finish these. And then I do the exact same thing. And here's the crossover. This is where people have a hard time. This is, again, why you shade that in so you can make the distinction. And I'm not even going to trace off what they did. The reason I don't want to do that, I just want to prove that it's not so exacting. When you get exacting with it is when you played at speed and you check out your pencil tests. Okay, so now we got all these drawings, and that is basically it. What I do now, if I can remember how to, and then after we get them all in order at this point, you just come there and it should work. Kinda. So on mine, what I did was I would come back into it, look at it there, right there. I would just come in and start finessing it to come back a little bit because I played it at speed and can see where it's not really accurate. Bring that foot down, goes off plane there. I'll bring this up, finesse it where it follows the arc better, and bring that down. And there it is. So now my planes, I would come back in, I would, just go through and make sure it went off the line, the registration line there. I would just draw, like I told you, I would have had beforehand, I would have had a straight line to follow there. That's how you keep control of it. But that's basically how you're able to keep it consistent. So what I did was I had my first step completed. This is true in a walk cycle, a skip, run, all different kinds of cycles, and then you just alter it a little bit for the next step. And that is the best way I know really how to control it. And you can, like I was saying, you can just trace it off. It just doesn't look quite as natural when you do that. So if you alter it a little bit, you should be able to get, something like that. And then I would just go back in, because all you're seeing right now is just shapes moving that are in color, and we got the feel for his motion and this entertaining kind of walk. Did that answer it, dude?
Yeah, no, that's really helpful, because the thing that always threw me off was, how do you deal with the perspective issue? And I like,
okay.
and that's me probably being a little too technical on some of this stuff, because I know that there is an art, and at a certain point you can be like, well, does it play or whatever, but just whenever I approach looking at it, that's kind of the point of friction in my mind of like, okay, well, yeah, but I know one leg is going to be in front of the other. How do you determine that? And where do these things go? So seeing you do that is actually really helpful.
Cool. Okay, and you do that also for front walk cycles, run cycles, 3/4. You just want to reverse it. And if you have a little bit of change, I know I keep saying this, but if you have a little change, don't worry about it. It actually adds to it. And the perspective, what I would have done if I'd been setting this up, I would have used the line tool or a ruler just to make sure I got that registration line for each foot. So you got a foot line there, and then the next one would be, can't draw a straight line. Next one would be somewhere down there to show that perspective of him coming out from that type of angle. And you do the same thing with always make your grids. The grids just...
I saw the Italian come out there, like, always make your grids.
Yeah, Daddy'd be proud of me. But you do always want to make those grids. I tell you, even if I got a sky shot like this, I'll put a grid up there just so I know the arrangement of that. I mean, you do that in storyboards all the time, don't you?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so easy to put it down, and it gives you such control over your layout. Anyway, so that's the way I do that.
That's great, man. Thank you.
Cool.